I bet. So just to clarify for the rec, Typicalduf is going to be affirming God's existence through some kind of apophatic argument. I'm going to be skeptic. So first of all, I understand that apophatic just means some kind of negative argument such that this is what
Yo, what
God
the hell
is,
is
right?
wrong?
So what's the case that what? I'm ignoring that. Don't take it off my time. But first of all, why is the case that apophatic arguments can be used to derive God's existence? When you say God, what does that mean? When you say exists, so what's your theory for that? What are the conditions you would posit to even evaluate existence versus non-existence? Once you hold to those things, and even if that's the case that those type of burdens obtain, why the case that under your argumentation you don't equivocate between these words? For example, people often say that something exists in reality, or just use reality in general, yet slide what that means given the argumentation. So I want you to justify that. When it comes to the argument itself, I need to know why it's valid, so that I have an inference, and also true premises. And for that, I want you to theory of truth. Again, saying burden is going to be acceptable and usable here, or at least warranted when it comes to your type of view. I want to know why it's the case that your premises are meaningfully true, not true in any sense, because what you could do is say that this part of my premises is true, therefore the argument is sound. I wouldn't grant that. It needs to be in a sense that you would posit until your position, the right position, once you argue for that. And then when it comes to that theory of truth I mentioned earlier, I want to know why is the case under that type of theory, it entails that your premises are even something which are applicable to that type of theory, such that it's a categorical error or avoid the substance of your theory. Then I'm not going to spam you too much. Off of that, you can just respond.
Yeah, that was your time. All right. Let me know when you're going. Difficult.
Yeah, you can start now. So you said that apophatic is going to be a negative argument. Apophaticism is not going to be a negative argument. It's going to be the negative way in relation to God, right? So first going to establish an anchor of how we could use this apophaticism in a form of a polymistic form. Then you said that, like, why can't these be used to derive existence due to the fact that we could still argue that the apophaticism is going to still relation in energies. The same example that I use with cloudy is that we could take that the sunlight is something that does truly exist, or the sunlight truly exists, feeling its warmth is indicative of the sun. So therefore, the energy is going to speak in relation to the essence in a non-composite simplistic form. Therefore, they're going to be united. So we will always take that as something that's going to be one in just reference to just say, let's just some sort of apophatic or like Paulinistic viewpoint. Then you said, when we say existence, what are those truth conditions for existence? Truth conditions for existence is going to be hinging on the simplistic or non-simplistic form. The same way that your argument is going to have some sort of partition. Again, I was saying this with Cloudy earlier. In a propositional logic form, to how it leads to a conclusion, we say that a reflexivity from like P1 to P2 to P3 to P4, all the way to your conclusion, that reflexivity that it arrives, how your conclusion could be either true or false, is proof that there exists some sort of object level. Now, all that apophaticism is saying that the object level is in a simplistic form, or just going to be its truth condition for all logical arguments. It's just going to have the divine as its anchor. And that's going to be evident in things that in your scheme, the reason you're able to apply these burdens, right? The indicative of a burden is going to be proof of that. Then you say, how does this apply to God? Again, it's going to be indicated by even your scheme. The fact that you're able to act and even have some sort of vengeance against
That's your
my
time.
argument.
That's your time. Ernest, let me know when you're going.
Yeah, I'm good. So you said apophatic is a negative relation. That's what we mean by negative argumentation. We're arguing for God's existence to what he is not. We can use it in some kind of a polymistic form. I'm not sure what that word means. I don't grant that at all. I want you to define that and tell me how we can use it in that form. You said we can still argue apophatism because of relations and energies. No, I don't grant that. When you say relation and energy, I'm not sure what that means. When it comes to relations themselves, I don't grant that there being some connection between two things entails your position on the argument for counterfaction possibility. You can say that we can take that sunlight does truly exist. I mean, I guess, and that it's going to be more so indicative of the sun. And off of that, it entails that energy speaks in essence. I don't grant that at all. So I'm on the argument for the entailment there. But also, I can just hold to some views such that essence does not exist, at least in the sense that you're positing, right? It could be the case that energy, just some physical thing that we will feel. It can be tactile or power things. It doesn't actually speak about anything's essence in particular. So I don't grant that at all. So under to your view. You said simplistic form in reference to apophatic argumentation. Okay, I can demonstrate how we simplistic. You said it hinges on my scheme because I use burdens and logic and whatnot, which actually entails your position. No, I don't grant that's coming in question, obviously. And object existing does not entail that your argument exists because we posit divine in nature. Object level is just talking about what's going to be true or false given a proposition and its derivatives. What about that talks about God at all? That was a non sequitur. I'm not sure why you said that. And again, you said that it's indicated via my scheme, via my proof. No, I don't grant that at all. Or sorry, my burden of proof. Of course not. My argument has partition, yes, but when you say reflexivity, I'm not sure what that means in reference towards argumentation and syllogism. So you can expand on that. Otherwise, missing all your points. And off
That's
of
your
that,
time.
I think
Boy, that's your time. All right. Typical, let me know when you're ready.
Yeah, the biggest thing that I want to accept was saying that the argument does have partition and derivatives, but then he's going to be denying the partition derivatives in my argument. That would be a form of special pleading due to the fact the same presubs as to how your argument is coherent is applying to mine, but you're denying it for an arbitrary reason. That's the one flag I just want to point out for the judge and also just for whoever is watching. That's number one. Number two is that you saying that there's going to be a partition is already proof of the object level due to the fact there's going to be a particular relation, and that's already evident in the fact he's able to give me the entailment of such. So then if you have these particulars and their sets, the particulars and their sets are going to be anti-foundationalist. Sure, you could grant that, but that's still going to be second order. You're still having explanatory power from a foundationalist scheme. That's already number one. So that's going to be the proof of the fulfillment of the first burden. As to what I mean by existence, it's going to be that of the object level. And obviously, since you're saying that there's going to be a partition or complex forms, there's going to be a simplest form. And you're saying that the entailment of the essence energy distinction doesn't exist, but then you're positing particulars. If you're positing particulars, and the essence energy distinction is saying that particulars speaks in reference to its truth condition. So if you're saying that any particulars, that being like any description speaks in reference to what it's describing, then you're already conceding to the essence energy distinction. That's what I mean by polymism. That's analytically true by what you've said. And you're saying there's not a connection between two things in an argument for counterfactual possibility. The possibility space here, just saying that like maybe your argument could be true, maybe my argument could be false, and the vice versa. If that possibility space is true, then the explications of that possibility space is also going to be true. That's what the entailment relation is, the explication. That's also going to be certain through the accident certainty when we're talking about possibility space, especially in Kolmogov's notation, when he's talking about conditional probability.
That's your time. That's your time. That's your time. All right. Ernest,
Yeah.
you can
So
go
yeah,
now.
so argument having partition insofar there's different parts, yeah. But me denying your partition is not me saying that logic, for example, does not exist. It's not going to be special pleading. And also to even presuppose that or assume that you must parody my account such that I presuppose that you as well. So for me to deny that special pleading, but I don't get that at all. I can just say it's the case that you haven't demonstrated why it's the case your conclusion truth is going to be entailed. So obviously me denying your partition in the sense that your inferences actually hold is not special pleading. Even if it was, I'm not even sure why it's vicious. You didn't mention that. And also you said the same presupposition that applies to your argument applies to mine. Okay, in the sense that we can communicate it, for example, but that does not entail as arbitrary. That just came from nowhere. You said partition is proof of the object level. Okay, I'm going to get clear on what that even means there, but I can kind of just interpret that neutrally and say, I mean, okay, if you want to say that, but there being some kind of particular within a set does not entail the second order. I don't know what that means. It's not going to be something which is entailing some kind of foundationalist scheme, which you would presuppose. Again, you're just slipping shit in and not arguing for it. I'm not sure where that's coming from. You said that we have explanatory power in the foundationalist scheme when it comes to particulars in the set. Okay, when you say explanation, I'm not really sure what the aims to really pick out or how you even evaluate that, but I'm just going to ignore that for now. I'm dismissing it. You said that me positing particulars in general already speaks in reference to truth condition. This is going to be a blunder. So truth conditions and reference are going to be logical. They're not metaphysical. Essence is metaphysical. And it talks about what kind of thing a thing is. It's not a logical thing, right? It's separate from aleatic things for simplicity. So I'm not going to concede to the essence energy. And again, it's not analytically true under my account. I want you to justify that. And even
That's
if it's
your
the
time.
case that you think...
Chill. That's your time. All right. I mean, if you guys want to change the timer, you can just like agree on it now.
No. This is cool.
Okay.
I think after this and after he responds to this, then we could conclude and then we could just do the minute 30 for this.
All right. So your timer starts now.
Yeah. So again, you're saying that the partition of special pleading, you're denying that. Again, you don't even have the grounds to deny that due to the fact that the exact same axis that makes your vengeance true takes the axis that makes my proposition true. To be denying that is to be denying your own refutation. That's exactly why I said it's going to be viciously circular on your end. And it's going to be exemplified through the object level. The object level is something that both of you already conceded analytically found in what you were saying. Because you're saying it's not going to be because you can just deny special pleading of my correspondent, but the special pleading of my course or the special pleading that's already attached to you is because the same correspondence when it's talking about these aleatic implicitors, which you mentioned, is mentioned within my proposition. Again, that's number one. And number two, when we're talking about implications, they're not going to be modal operatives like we do in like creep key semantics, but they're going to be a propositional operative due to the fact that it's going to be a syntax that connects these propositions to each other. So you saying that the elliptic impliciter doesn't exist for me, but exists for you when they're both propositions is another example of special pleading. And then you're saying that partition is proof of an object level, and he wants clarification on why I say that due to the fact that we're going to have these particulars, and these particulars I explain more explanatory power to the first object. All second order logic is it quantifies over individuals, properties, relations, and sets, or first order quantifies over only individuals. If you have a quantification over property, relations, and sets, existential or universal, then you're conceding to the object level. All my view is saying is that your object level has less explanatory power, so it's less theoretically virtuous than my view, due to the fact that theoretical virtue, in my view, is just going to have God as that first anchor or that first object.
That's your time.
Yeah. Okay. So the one part that got left out because of the time, if you said that if object level is true, then expectations are true, or rather that if the possibility space is true, then expectations are true. No, I don't grant that. Explanation is us communicating about a particular thing. It's not going to be truth at until we make a proposition, which falls back into my point. I'm not sure why you said that. You said the entailment is the expectation. Explanation is not even logical. That just came from nowhere. What the fuck? I'm dismissing that. And you said because of that, it's certain through the space itself. No. When you say certain, I want to know how you even assign probability. What's the formula you're going to be using here? And why is it the case that that formula entails your position such that it can be certain here rather than not? You said partition isn't special pleading because I don't have the it's going to be special pleading because I don't have the grounds to deny. Again, that's what's going to be in question. I'm not even sure you know what my ground is. I don't know what ground means when it comes to your account. You said it presupposes what you do, so thus it demands my refutation. No, I don't grant that following. I'm talking about your account, not my account. We talk about why things are reasonable and actually follow under your account, not mine. So me denying that when it comes to your account is not going to be special pleading. You said implications are not modal operatives, yeah, the propositional operatives, which just means it's going to be derived from something, which is my point. Again, it's logical. It's not going to be metaphysical. You said correspondence is mentioned within my prop. I want you to prove that. You said analytically found. I want you to prove that. And also respond to acquiring truth by convention, otherwise missing analytically your account. You said that partition proof the object level due to the fact that particular explain more explanatory power to the first object. Again, it's going to be in question. I'm not sure what that means there or how you cash that out. I'm denying that. You said I concede to the object level given existential things. So first of all, first order logic is not really object level. You said object level is going to be propositional logic.
That's it.
First order applies predicates and
that's it. Done. All right. Wait, so are you guys going to conclusions after this, or is it
yeah? I think we could go to conclusions after this. I think that was.
Wait, are you fine with that, Ernest?
You go with that?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Wait, so is this a conclusion, or are you saying one more thing?
No. That was conclusion. I said me, then him, and then we could conclude.
Okay.
All right.
Your time starts now.
All right, I could go first. So again, the very first part of there was just cashing out the constituents of what I mean by polymism. Polymism is just going to be apophatic in relation to God. There's going to be a simplistic form or the simplest form of an object. And the simplest form of an object when it comes to logic is going to be God. That's all I said, and that was a full stop there. Throughout the entirety of the debate, my opponent was able to indicate that simplistic form of the object being God through what he was saying. Number one, he said that he's denying a partition with special pleading. The reason why I brought up special pleading is because he's saying that he could just deny special pleading of correspondence by virtue of him not knowing what I'm meaning. He wanted me to cash it out. I'm cashing it out because he's already instantiating a concept of partition. Partition is going to be indicative of something that's second order. It's going to be relations and sets, right? If something's going to be second order, these relations and sets are going to be describing and explaining what we just know as an object or just an individual. That's exactly why second order actually has more explanatory power than first order logic. That was a blunder number one. And then after that, he then said the truth conditions are separate from alethetic implications. And alethetic implication, that being implications that are truth apt, are not going to be modal operatives, are going to be found in like a propositional variable syntax. So that's just going to be like how these implications connect to a proposition. So if you want me to, the correspondence as to how it connects to my proposition is being at the first order. That's why I said that the God and schema is going to be more explanatorily variable or explanatorily powerful, more theoretically virtuous than his scheme. That's what the main thing in question is. And after that, he says, how could you apply possibility and why is it certain? We're assigning possibility because you brought up the possibility space. So if you're bringing up the possibility space, what's derived from that is going to be the axiom of certainty. So that's not something that I instantiate. That's something that's already present, that's analytically driven by why you brought it up. So then both our probabilities are going to be on a sample space. And the sample space of my probability is going to be more theoretically virtuous. And then all we could just do is just say that now it's going to be best expected under my scheme for my argument to be true than under his scheme. And this just best off the definitions of what he brought up. So then again, saying that the partition is special pleading, that would be wrong. It is special pleading because we're already operating under the exact same sample space, right? The principle of indifference will be saying that right then and there. And then after that, him denying that it isn't going to be indifferent to each other and it's not going to be equal presence in sample space. Now he's shooting himself in the foot there. And then him saying that implications are logical and not metaphysical was confused because whether logical or metaphysical, the truth aptness is going to be deriving from explanatory power. And the truth aptness is being what's going to be the most logical, what's going to be least logical. So if my argument has more explanatory power within the sample space and has more precedence, then his argument already flops due to the fact that his argument doesn't have a first order anchor. I can concede my time here.
All right, my turn. So again, I heard you mention that you said The object level, my object level has less explanatory power. I mean, I already questioned the theoretical virtues part, how he catches those out, and how that entails his position. He did not answer that. When it comes to Apollonism, whatever the fuck he said, being apophatic in relation to God, again, whether or not these things can even entail God's existence or his type of God is what's in question. And also, I mentioned, why is it the case that when you say existence, doesn't equivocate the argument? He forgot the objection. He just forgot. He said the simplest form of God, of object is God. Of course, that's your conception, not mine. It's your job to warrant your conception, so that doesn't really matter here. He said special pleading of correspondence. Again, I question correspondence in general, how you cash it out, how it is your position. You didn't answer that. And also, you keep saying that it's special pleading because I presuppose your concepts. Again, it's not only what's in question, but I keep saying that presupposes you can parody my account with your account. And even if you could, that doesn't really matter, because about when it comes to how we debate and argue, it's about why our reasons infer things. Not my reasons, it's about how your reason infers your conclusion being true and warranted. You said if it's second order, it explains objects. That was in question. You said that's why it has more explanatory power. That's in question. You said that truth conditions are separate from lethic implication in your conclusion. Well, I don't know what, I never said that. Oh God, what the fuck? I said implications are lethic. You mistracked that. And also, you said the first order commits to your proposition. That's going to be what's in question. It being more virtuous, again, what's in question. And when I talked about probability, I didn't say that. Well, first of all, you said it being certain is derived from possibility, or possibility is derived from certainty. No, it's going to be a blunder. Probability itself talks about, for example, rational credences and the Bayes formula. So that's not going to be something which is going to be included in possibility. We do have possibility spaces and they're related, but it's not included in possibility itself. So I don't know why you said that. And again, you mentioned analyticity. I questioned that with acquiring truth by convention. You never responded to that. You said the sample space of your probability is going to be virtuous. Okay. Again, I keep saying that explanations are not going to be lethic. You never attack me saying explanations aren't going to be lethic. Explanation is how we communicate things in the rational warrant, for example, not about whether or not things can be true or false. So again, it's going to be a blunder and a categorical error. I think I place a lot more burden, such as why is your argument positive valid inference? I tell you conclusion's truth. He didn't answer that. I said what's your theory of truth and why is the case premise going to be meaningfully true? He didn't answer that. And I also said, what did I say? I ain't gonna lie. Oh yeah, again, the essence energy thing had denied that relation. And also I gave a counterexample, right? Maybe energy, for example, or the example you gave up, can be a tactile thing and not implicit of essence. Why is it the case that once you can hold to essence as a theory or resisting reality? There's no answer to that. And aside from that, I don't think I need to say much else.
You
Wait, man, get the debate. Yeah, give me that, Rick.
All right, so
So
everybody said I was judging, but I don't know if typically you agreed to that. Are you fine if I judged?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so I have Ernest winning, and I'm willing to talk to you about this, and we can watch rec and everything. Like, obviously, if you disagree, but yeah, I just have him winning. Do you? If you want to like watch rec and everything, we can do it later. Just like text me.
No, that's fine. I trust your judgment.
Somebody made the poll.